All right. Thank you for joining us this morning. As this is part of the Central Wisconsin Book Festival, and I'd like to read off and thank our 2024 Book Festival supporters. So support for the festival this year was provided by Marathon County Public Library, Portage County Public Library, and the McMillan Memorial Library. The Community Arts Grant Program of the Community Foundation of North Central Wisconsin, with funds provided by the Wisconsin Arts Board, a state agency. The Community Foundation and the B.A. and Esther Greenheck Foundation. Support was also provided by the Merco Foundation, Reuter Ware Law Firm, Center for the Visual Arts, the Portage County Public Library Foundation, the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point Libraries, Yankee Bookstore, Bound to Happen Books, Sojourn Booksellers, and Peking Restaurant. And this morning, we have Dr. Carrie Jarosinski, who is a passionate nurse educator with over 20 years of experience in public health, long-term care, and wellness coaching. She's an advocate for storytelling as a tool for health and wellness, reflected in her latest books, Reclaim Your Story, and the forthcoming, Reclaim Your Resilience. So please give a warm welcome to Dr. Carrie Jarosinski.
Thank you. So normally I do not wear a mic. I have a very loud voice that sort of carries a little bit. Yes, for those of you that know me. So I'm going to work really hard at being restrained today. So thank you for joining me. I appreciate you taking some time on this Saturday morning to learn a little bit more about health and perhaps investigate your own little journey a little bit, learn a little bit more about my book. But hopefully the main takeaway is that you learn a little bit more about you and what your story is. Honestly, when people ask me about health and wellness and what they should do, people after I present at conferences are like, I don't know, how can I move more? How can I make it a habit? All of these questions, and I'm like, wow, let's just pull in the reins a little bit, because there's a lot of work that has to happen before you get to those goals and that goal setting. There's a lot of foundational work that needs to occur before you can have that sustainable wellness change. So I like to start with, what is your story? And just a little bit about my story. So I had gotten to a point in my life where I was suffering from panic attacks and I was very unwell. I was not in a healthy state. And I don't know if any of you have ever suffered from panic attacks at all, but you sort of snowball into this fear of fear, right? So you have this crippling fear inside of you, and you're so afraid of triggering that fear again that your world just kind of gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And I was at that point, and I'm like, gosh, I know that I need to make some sort of life change here, because this is not sustainable, and I am not enjoying life at this point. So I remember where I was painting a bathroom, and I was listening to Dan Harris on NPR, and he's talking about meditation and how he actually experienced panic attacks on live TV. For those of you that don't know who Dan Harris is, he was an ABC consultant and a news person. And he had a panic attack on TV, and he's like, whoa, something has to happen in my life. I need to change something. So he went down this investigative road of learning about mindfulness and awareness and meditation and things like that as a tool to control your panic. And he wrote this book, 10% Happier. I'm like, okay, well, if it worked for this dude, maybe, what can it hurt, right? So I ordered his book, and And I started reading it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, meditation. And the title is Meditation for Fidgety Skeptics. And I don't know, like anybody that does know me is like, that's her. She is a fidgety skeptic. That's like when I was visiting with Colin before I started today, I'm like, I'm kind of like a caged animal. Like, I know you're on live stream here, but I'm kind of like, I can't just sit still, because he wanted to give me that mic. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work. So I started reading this book, and I'm like, yeah, gosh, I don't know. Like, I just I can't sit still. You know, I can't, I cannot sit still. My mind cannot stop. I am always thinking. I'm always thinking about the next thing, what I have to do. I don't think this is for me. And then I had a conversation with one of my friends, and that friend was actually going through working with a health coach. And she was talking about mindfulness and meditation and things like that. And she's telling me about this, and I'm like, yeah, that's not for me. I can't sit still. Well, you know, as that fear builds and builds, and you realize you need to make a change, I was ready to try anything. So I'm like, okay, if I can sit down for 60 seconds, I'm going to call that a win, right? And so I sat down for 60 seconds. It was a guided meditation, and I did it. And I'm like, okay, I mean, that's not so bad. I think maybe I can do it again. So then the next day I did it again. And, you know, after some fits and spurts, I was able to develop that into a daily habit. And the important part of, you know, why I'm talking about this is because when you get into that mindful awareness state, that's when you start really cueing into who you are and what your story is and what you're telling yourself and how that is, you know, how it is making you feel internally, and how it is allowing you to project yourself to the world, right? And how you interact with others. So throughout that journey, I was able to to break through those panic attacks. And people are like, wow, how'd you do that? And I'm like, well, you know, mindful awareness and meditation and a lot of other practices and things like that. And when I say that, it sounds really easy. It wasn't easy. I just want to put that out there. Like, this is something that is, you chip away at day after day after day after day, and you have to go through a lot of uncomfortable feelings, and be okay with sitting with those uncomfortable feelings to break through that. And I just use that as my example. Like, not everybody suffers from panic attacks and anxiety. That was just one way for me to be able to sort of connect what's going on in my head to what's going on in my body and what my actions are. And I think we all could use a little bit more of that, so that we're a little bit more responsive instead of reactive throughout our day. So now, like, okay, I'm one of those presenters. I make you talk. I make you talk to people. What I would like you to do right now is actually get up and find somebody in this room that you don't know, and I want you to share it. I know, isn't it horrible? I'm looking at your face. She's like, oh my God, what am I doing here? You can just pretend too. But no, I would like you to get up and find somebody that you don't know in this room, and I want you to just share a time where you felt awe, where you had an aha moment, where you felt fulfilled, you experienced joy, or you were proud of yourself. So please just humor me. That's what I tell my students all the time. Just trust the process. Trust the process. It'll be okay. So here we go. It's that time. Stand up, everybody. Hey, you guys are so lucky. I was presenting at a conference on Thursday, and I made everybody do the Elaine Bennis dance from Seinfeld. So at least I'm not making you do that. We're going to meet people. We're going to mingle. We're going to talk about things that make us happy. And if anybody wants to talk to me, you can talk to me too. You can certainly talk to me if you'd like. Everybody's afraid of me, I know. Do you want to share a story with me? I'll shut off my mic. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys getting outside of your comfort zone. For those that know me, I am a boundary pusher. so I tend to embrace that persona when I'm presenting as well. So I just wanted everybody to, first of all, thank you. I just wanted everybody to know like what happened in the room when we all got up and started sharing our stories. Did you feel like the energy went up and like it was scary at first to get up and make friends with a new person? Like, who knew that making friends with a new person as an adult was so hard? Right? So the energy automatically comes up, and I'm seeing smiling faces, and I'm seeing head nods, and I'm seeing connection is what I'm seeing, and I'm hoping that that's what you felt as well. You felt a connection to that other person as they are sharing this important story about their life with you. And I think that's pretty cool. So just soliciting from the crowd. So how did you feel when you were sharing your story? Awkward? Yes, I know it is awkward at first, isn't it? What else?
I felt great. I felt great hearing the other stories.
Yeah, isn't that so like first of all, how often do you tell other people about like your strengths and your positive traits? Like not very often, right? Like we might say, "Oh, I got a promotion at work," or "Oh, I went on this vacation," or whatever. But do we ever really stop and take time to share what our characteristics or our traits are that are positive, our strengths to other people? Most often we just don't. We talk about like, this is my job, this is my occupation, I'm a mom, I'm a sister, you know what I mean? Like I have these labels, but what brings you joy and what brings those positive characteristics out of you to share with others? We don't often get that space. So in hearing the stories, you were excited to hear the stories as well. Anybody else? Like, what did you feel like when you're hearing other people's stories?
I enjoyed the story that Rick, I think it was Rick, told me his story. It was a really, well, I would have loved to have done the same thing.
Do you want to share it, Rick?
It's wonderful.
Or is that putting you on the spot? Am I too much of a boundary pusher?
No.
Rick's going to share a story.
A lot of times, no. It was I was on the Appalachian Trail with a friend, and
Yeah, see?
Yes.
Virginia, and we had 2 weeks for vacation, and a week into it, he wasn't having as much fun as I was, but he had relatives there, and we split up, and I was in the woods for a few days on my own, and I had never been not near home,
Yeah.
out where I could get lost or there could be other things going on, and so just the sense after a day, not only can I handle it, but I'm immersed. I'm not as lonely as I thought I would be, and it's
Yeah.
that experience.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And so often we don't have those opportunities to just kind of be out there by ourselves and sort of again test our boundaries, test our limits, test, how self-sufficient we are. So that's awesome. Thank you very much. Yes.
I'm just saying it's tough to share your story with the author. So.
You did so good. You get the gold star today. Absolutely. Absolutely. I know he got stuck with the author. Poor guy.
How do you differentiate though between a person telling their story and say more of a narcissistic person? I mean, you get some people,
Yeah.
just going, it's all about them, and you don't get a word in edgewise.
Yeah, that's where those healthy boundaries come in. So like it's great. So like I hope that we felt connected when you were sharing your story. And I hope, when y'all were mingling, you felt connected, that sense of connection. That's really the difference. The difference is like having two-way communication versus somebody's talking at you, right? I mean, we all know that person that just wants to talk about themselves and talk about how perfect they are. And, we all know that person. And what do? We tend to like avoid those people, right? So, I mean, that's where the healthy boundaries come in. Yeah. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Don't worry. We just got up and did an activity, but don't worry, there'll be more activities. Okay, thank you so much for sharing your stories. Now, The whole goal of today is learning about your story and getting to know yourself. So I talk about like meditation and mindfulness and things like that. I don't want to put that label on what we're going to do today. I just want you to just kind of open and allow the process to happen. We're just gonna have like a sort of like wake up call, like an awakening process to figure out what our story is and how that impacts us. So we all have this little running narrative in our head all the time, whether we're aware of it or not. And we become so much more powerful in our own story when we awaken to that inner narrator, that inner storyteller. So most often, the things that are running through our head are like, oh, I need to, throw a load of laundry in when I get home. I need to make sure I send this email. I need to sweep the floors. I forgot to do this yesterday. Like, it's a lot of mundane stuff. And it's hard to sort of stop and pick out certain things. And it is only through this mindful awakening, this awakening process, that we can begin to do that. So a lot of times what happens is we're on autopilot and we just don't pay attention to what that little voice inside of our head is saying all the time. But we really can embrace the power of this when we take that time to stop and to listen. And again, for those of you that know me, it's really hard, right? To stop and be quiet and just listen. And there are meditative practices that you can embrace if you so choose to go down that road that, is a mindfulness meditation, lots of different types of meditations. Today we're just going to hone in on a teeny tiny little sliver, and that's the awareness piece of that. And it's really hard to stop and think and be mindful of what our brain is telling us in that nonstop fashion, but we're going to practice that today. And usually when I say like, okay, we're going to stop and we're just going to listen to what our mind is telling us, what our thoughts are saying, and then usually what happens is people are like, yeah, it's not saying anything now. So I'm just going to ask you once again to be vulnerable with me, and we're just going to take some quiet time to just sort of stop and listen to what our brain is saying. And we're going to, in a little bit, we're going to try and figure out a pattern. So we're just going to go ahead, and I would invite you, if you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, you certainly don't have to. Just kind of like gaze at the floor. Don't fix on anything, but just try to like gaze like, kind of like your eyes are going blurry a little bit at the floor. Otherwise, I would invite you to go ahead and just close your eyes at this time. And we're just going to sit. And just start to take note if you start thinking anything. It may be you're thinking, this is really weird. I don't want to do this. It may be, I'm kind of bored. You may be thinking about what you have to get done. Okay, 60 seconds, easy peasy, you got this. You just sat there for 60 seconds, thereabouts, we're good. Okay, so now that you're kind of tuned into, okay, I do have these thoughts in my brain, right? Like I've woken up to this, I know I have these thoughts in my brain all the time. What am I gonna do about them? Well, here's the thing, like when I talk to people about meditation and being mindful, the first reaction is, I can't sit still. Here's the cool part about being mindful or meditating. You don't have to sit still. Like you can literally do this when you're brushing your teeth, when you're washing the dishes, when you're going for a walk. It literally just means that you are opening up all of your senses and you're taking everything in, you're soaking everything in. What am I hearing? What am I feeling inside emotionally? What am I feeling externally? Like, is there pressure? Is there coolness? Do I feel a breeze on my face? Do I feel sunshine on my face? What does it feel like when I'm actually brushing my teeth? And what does it feel like when the toothbrush goes on my gums? Like literally, you do not have to sit still. So that's the first thing I want everybody to let go. The other thing is, the second thing that people say is, I can't be mindful and I can't meditate because my brain doesn't stop. I constantly have this running narration in my head and I have all these thoughts and I can't stop. And here's the beautiful part, no one can. I'm just gonna share that little secret. No one can stop the thoughts. That's not the practice. The practice is becoming aware of those thoughts and letting them go. So you can visualize those thoughts as like a little leaf in a stream. Oh, look, there's a little leaf in a stream. I'm thinking about thawing out the chicken for dinner. Let it go. Let it go down the stream. Okay, and then I'm going to come back. Or you can think about it as clouds going across the sky. Oh yeah, there's another little thought that's going across my brain cells, and it's going to keep on going just like a cloud does. So we acknowledge that we have these thoughts, and that's totally fine. None of us are, the Buddha. We're not, we're not spectacular at this. So we just acknowledge that we have these thoughts, and then we let them pass on through, and then we come back to what's called an anchor. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to try to figure out what your anchor is. An anchor is just something that it's a tool that you use to bring you back into this moment. Because if I am not in this moment, I'm worried about something that's going to happen in the future, or I am upset and ruminating about something that happened in the past. So mindful awareness is simply bringing yourself into this moment. So the tool that we use to keep ourselves in this moment when we're being mindful is an anchor. There's lots of different anchors. Some work for some people, some don't work for some people, some work for you some days, some work for you other days. It just kind of comes and goes. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to play around with the different anchors to see which one you like. Okay, and it's not going to take long, another very quick exercise, but I'm just going to walk you through several different anchors. Play along with me, just think about it in your mind, and just kind of note which one feels right or better or good to you. So I would invite you all again to just close your eyes or gaze at the floor, whatever's more comfortable for you. And I'm going to ask that you take a breath in through your nose and feel the air as it comes in through your nose. And after that inhale, hold it for a couple of seconds. And then exhale. And keep on going with that breathing pattern, nice and slow. A little bit longer on the exhale than the inhale. And I want you to think about how that feels in your nose. And I want you to keep on with that breathing pattern. But now I want you to think about how that feels in your chest and your lungs. Breathing in, know that you're breathing in. Breathing out, know that you're breathing out. And in the next inhale, I want you to feel your belly rise. And on your exhale, I want you to feel your belly soften. Now I'd like you to think about what you're hearing. Perhaps you hear a little bit of the ventilation. Dig deep into that air movement. Does it change? Maybe somebody's moving next to you, or the sound of my voice. You might hear a little something out in the library. And now I'd like you to get curious about your feet. Feeling your feet on the floor, feeling the contact, feeling how your shoes are touching your feet. And now I'd like you to get curious about your entire body. Just feel like the snugness of your body. And feel where your body is in spatial relation to this room. Take a big breath in through your nose and exhale. And go ahead and open your eyes. So those are just some of the anchors that you can use. So we had the breath. Sometimes when folks use the breath, they make a light note saying in and out. Some people, when they use the breath, they'll say 1, 2, 3, hold 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, 5. When we exhale a little bit more longer than the inhale, you stimulate that parasympathetic nervous system, that calming system. So you can either note in and out, you can count, or you can just feel the sensations either in your nose, in your throat, in your chest, or in your belly. You can feel the grounding on your feet. You can feel the grounding sitting on your seat. You can listen to what's happening in the room around you, or you can literally just feel the snugness of your body. So those are like the most common anchors that you can use when you're trying to be more mindful. So now that you have an anchor, I'm going to make you get up again. So we're going to get up. I know, just trust me again. Now that I've got you all relaxed and everything, come on up, stand up. And we're literally just going to wiggle a little bit because, again, like people are worried about racing thoughts. So now you know how to address racing thoughts. You have the thought, you acknowledge it, you let it go through, you go back to your anchor. The other part is like everybody's like, I can't sit still, like I gotta wiggle. So a really great part of this practice is getting the wiggles out before you do the practice. So I'm just gonna have you go ahead. We're just gonna like do tapping. Anybody ever do tapping? So I'm just taking my fingertips and I'm tapping across my forehead and I'm tapping through my head from the front to the back. This is actually part of Qigong. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Qigong, but it's kind of like one of those ancient Asian arts, kind of like Tai Chi. Go ahead. Sorry, I've got a microphone on here. Go ahead and thump your chest like this. It's one of those ancient Asian arts that just kind of like, we have to give a nod to them because they've been doing it forever and it just makes people feel good. Go ahead with, oh gosh, more microphone. I'll try to thump softly, but go ahead and thump hard. So you can thump hard all the way through your ribs. Go ahead and thump on your hips, thump on your back. I've got fists here, go all the way down your back. We got hecklers here? That's fabulous. Go ahead and punch all the way down your legs, all the way down your shins. Keep going, keep going, keep going. At least I'm not making you do the Elaine Bennis dance. Yes. All right. Woo, we got the wiggles out. You guys can go ahead and sit down. You're good sports. Good job. Good job, everyone. Okay, so now that we've got the tools, we got our wiggles out, and we know what our preferred anchor is, at least for now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take another break, and it's going to be a little bit longer this time. So I want you to practice when you have a thought, just picture that cloud, picture that leaf, let it pass on through. But I want you to note the thought that you're having, okay? So just think about like, okay, is that planning? Is that looking behind my shoulder? Is that me ruminating on something? And let it go. So it's part of this, I'm gonna listen, and then I'm gonna label, like what kind of thought am I having? And then I'm just gonna let it go. So 3 steps to this practice. Okay. If you're using sound as your anchor, we have a little kiddo out here. That would be a great, like, you can hear all the different inflections. That is, thank you, little buddy. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close your eyes one more time. Take a big breath in through your nose. Hold. Let it go. Elongate that exhale. Take a big breath in through your nose. Hold. And exhale. Find your anchor. And just kind of get curious. Breathing in, know that you're breathing in. Breathing out, know that you're breathing out. If you get distracted, go right back to your anchor. Just let the thoughts pass on through. Getting curious about those thoughts. Take a big breath in through your nose. And exhale. And then I'd invite you to open your eyes again. Oh, look at you guys being mindfully aware. So, thinking to yourself, like, what did you hear and what was your experience? That is important data that we're mining for right now. One more time, I'm going to make you guys get up. So I want you to find a buddy, and I just want to share, you don't have to share details, but just share, like, what was your experience? Was it hard? Was it easy? Was it enjoyable? Was it painful? Was it enlightening? Did you figure out, like, what that little voice was telling you? Were you in the future? Were you in the past? Where were you? Were you right here? Go ahead and get up and find a buddy. Let's share our stories. who we are, the story we're telling ourselves, and how that's impacting how we feel and how we relate to the rest of the world. Then what we do, flipping the switch, renovation. And then we've got the next level, leveling up. So I'm going to use this as an example. So the next time you stumble upon that difficult part in your life, you can use these 3 steps. First one, I'm going to share. I feel nervous and stupid when I have to talk to people I don't know. Because I knew I was going to, like, you know, make people talk to people that they don't know. And you guys probably felt that vulnerability, right? You probably felt like, oh God, I'm nervous. You had shared a comment earlier, like when I asked you, how did that feel? What was your comment? It was like, didn't feel comfortable or something like that. Awkward, right? It feels awkward, right? Okay, so that was probably like your inner voice. As soon as I told you, you got to get up and talk to a stranger, you're like, oh boy. Your inner voice kicked in, right? So the renovation to that is, okay, I know I feel nervous and stupid when I have to talk to people I know. That's that negative Nelly. The renovation is, I can be a good communicator if you just give me time to think before I speak. That is renovating from a negative self-talk to a positive self-talk. Then we can level up, and that digs even deeper. And you ask yourself the question, well, what makes me a good communicator then? Maybe, and this is really amplifying that, taking the negative Nelly to the positive side. Okay, I know I'm a good communicator because I make good eye contact. I make people feel heard when they talk to me. When I have time to comprise my answer, I feel like I sound intelligent. So that's the leveling up. Asking yourself the question, well, what makes me good at this? What part of me is good at this? So that's the leveling up. So that leads into the self-compassion practice. Thank you very much. So mindfulness, that's what we've been practicing for the last 55 minutes, that awareness. Then we have the second component is common humanity. That just means everybody screws up. Everybody messes up. We all stumble. We all have problems in our life. We all are not perfect, right? And then having the self-kindness to be able to say, you know what, I messed up. But I'm going to level up and say, okay, I'm going to learn from this mistake. These are my takeaways. This is my plan moving forward. Self-compassion practice, there's a ton of research on this as well. And it's pretty amazing. And this is tied to that shame piece. If you're shaming, you're not going to have a sustainable change. If you embrace a self-compassion practice, you are far more likely to have that sustainable behavior change. So self-compassion practice basically boils down to treating yourself like you would treat a friend. So if I mess up, I may immediately think with my negative self-talk, oh man, I screwed up, that was stupid. However, if we can switch that and think about, if that was my friend that just screwed up, what would I say to them? More than likely, I'd be a decent human being, and I'd be like, you know what, yeah, you messed up, but these are the positives that came out of it. Now you know what not to do in the future. You're a good person. You're probably going to give them a hug, right? So that's what I would do for my friend when they mess up. If I'm going to do that to my friend, why can't I do that to myself, right? So coming to your thoughts with that self-compassion attitude really can help you be more resilient. You're going to bounce back from those troubles much faster, and you are going to, again, find more joy in life. So a beautiful practice. I could have like an entire hour just on self-compassion practice as well. I have 4 minutes left to talk about what health and wellness is. So it's a combination of the determinants of health, dimensions of health, and again, writing your script, so that inner narrator in your head. How are you going to get to the goals that you want to get to? There are 3 different determinants of health: genetic, environmental, and social. Genetic, obviously, that's the DNA that's passed down to us from our parents, but there's also what's called epigenetics. So there's certain things like switches that can be turned on and can be turned off based on my lived experiences, based on my parents' lived experiences, based on the environment around me. There's environmental determinants of health. That's more like my access to fresh water, my access to a non-polluted neighborhood, my access to basically
any kind of natural resource that's not been polluted. And then we have the social determinants of health, and the social determinants of health actually account for greater than 50%. It's about 60% of our health outcomes. Social determinants of health is our access to resources, so our access to quality education, our access to a living wage job, our access to health care. Basically all of the access to resources, that's going to count for the bulk of our health outcomes across our lifespan. This is why we can tell who will die sooner than other people in the population based on their zip code. You can literally go in and look at zip code and see life expectancy, and there can be upwards of a decade or more of a difference from one county to the next based on social determinants of health. Again, these are like things I could talk about a semester about. We have 6 dimensions of wellness. This comes from the National Wellness Institute. I prefer to have a 7-dimension model with financial wellness as well. And then, of course, what are your values and beliefs? That's going to guide your health outcomes as well. So I personally value innovation, so I'm not going to gravitate toward a job where I'm going to be doing the same thing every day, right? So that's going to boost my opportunity for health and well-being. This is my wellness model. You can see there's a lot of things going on here. I've got the dimensions of wellness that go into our holistic well-being. We also have our different determinants, and we have our social connectedness, which we know is a huge indicator of health outcomes as well. U.S. Surgeon General just came out with a report last year warning of the crisis of a lack of social connectedness and how it essentially equates to smoking a pack of cigarettes a day if you are isolated or feeling lonely. So there are a ton of things that go into health and wellness. However, the story starts with you. The story starts with what you tell yourself and the direction that will take you. So that is where I will leave you today. Look at that, right on the nose. Woo! That is where I will leave you today. I can definitely answer any questions that you might have, but I hope that you have one teeny tiny little golden nugget that you walk out of here with today, and hopefully that is to just try and reframe what your mind is telling you. Thank you very much.
When's the next book coming out?
Yeah, it's coming out. I don't have a pub date yet, but it's coming out. Reclaim Your Resilience will come out next, and then the third and final book I'm writing right now, and that is Reclaim Your Joy. Super fun one, yeah. And I have bookmarks back there if you want. It's got a QR code to my book that will talk about all of the different dimensions of wellness and determinants of health if you're so inclined to learn more.